You've got to be kidding me. Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted trafficker, Epstein's partner in crime, the woman who helped build the world's most disgusting VIP club of exploitation, is now asking the president for a second chance? And guess who's quietly cheering her on? People tied to Trump's old circle. Yeah, you heard that right. While you're working double shifts to pay rent, the same system that lost Epstein's camera footage is apparently preparing a clemency file for his partner. And Democrats? They're exploding. Jamie Raskin, Catherine Clark, letters flying to the DOJ. Meanwhile, the White House? Silent. Because they know this isn't just another scandal. If Maxwell's request even touches the Oval Office, it opens every door the establishment spent years welding shut. Here's the kicker. This isn't about mercy. It's about who still owns power after the handcuffs click. Let's rewind this mess. 2021, Maxwell goes down for sex trafficking minors. 20 years, case closed. Justice, right? Except justice in America has an expiration date if you have the right friends. For 3 years, she's been locked up in a federal facility in Florida. But a whistleblower just blew the walls open. Custom meals, private meetings, even tech access. She's basically living the Martha Stewart prison package, minus the remorse. And now word leaks? She's drafting a clemency plea, backed by sympathetic figures connected to Trump's past administration. Translation? Someone powerful still owes her something. You don't push a request like that unless you think someone on the inside is ready to catch it. And that's what's terrifying Washington. Because a pardon, or even a hint of one, wouldn't just free Maxwell. It would resurrect Epstein's ghost in full HD and drag half of D.C. back into the light. So Democrats pounce. Letters to the Bureau of Prisons. Raskin demands files, visitor logs, communications. Who's protecting her? Who's paying her legal team? No answers, just echoes.
Then the real explosion hits. Late Friday, The Guardian drops it. Maxwell's team has already circulated a draft clemency packet, and buried in the draft, references to unfair media bias and political persecution. That's straight out of the Trump playbook. Within hours, the internet's on fire. Hashtag Maxwell Files trends. Cable news panels look like they just got hit by lightning. But here's the dangerous part. Inside MAGA circles, some voices start defending her. Two-tier justice system, deep state witch hunt. The same script used to protect Trump now gets recycled for Epstein's recruiter. And this is where the outrage turns nuclear. Because buried in DOJ chatter, leaks surfaced that Pam Bondi, yes, Trump's loyal AG during the original Epstein years, has been consulted on review procedure. Bondi again. The circle completes itself. Democrats smell blood. Raskin goes on MSNBC. If anyone tied to Trump is helping a convicted trafficker seek clemency, that's corruption in motion. Republicans clap back. Dem hysteria. Old news. But the optics are radioactive. You've got Trump allies orbiting a predator's fixer, the DOJ ducking cameras, and the public asking the same question. What the hell is happening behind those walls? Inside the Bureau of Prisons, panic mode. Internal memo leaks. Avoid unauthorized disclosures. Translation, shut up, pretend nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, Trump stays silent. No Truth Social rant, no denial. And that silence, it's calculated. He knows outrage has an expiry date. Let Democrats scream. It only feeds the martyr narrative. They're after us again. But behind closed doors, strategists see an opportunity. If Maxwell gets sympathy, it proves loyalty pays. If she doesn't, it still drags Democrats into a swamp of conspiracy noise before election season. Either way, Trump wins airtime. And the whistleblower? Gone dark. Transferred for safety reasons. Every movie needs a disappearing witness. This one just wrote itself. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. This isn't a justice story. It's a revenge plot disguised as mercy paperwork. Day 2, and D.C. looks like it's running on fire and caffeine. Democrats call emergency oversight. Republicans stall with procedural noise. The DOJ hides behind ongoing matter statements. Jamie Raskin takes the floor. This is about the integrity of the justice system. We cannot have a two-tiered America, one for predators with power, one for everyone else. Cue applause from half the room and smirks from the other. Because make no mistake, everyone in that chamber knows where this goes. If Maxwell gets clemency, Democrats will scream cover-up. If she doesn't, Trump's camp will cry political persecution. Either way, it feeds the outrage machine both sides secretly depend on. Cable producers are salivating. You can practically hear the Chiron writers sharpening knives. Trump linked to Maxwell. White House in firestorm. And the public? Numb. Because after years of headlines about Epstein, QAnon, and corruption, nobody trusts anyone. And that's the real victory for every power broker involved. Confusion. If truth is foggy enough, nobody marches anymore. But inside the DOJ, this isn't fog. It's fear. Investigators whisper that if a formal clemency petition is filed, they'll have to review it like any other. That means background checks, interagency memos, paper trails, and those trails could lead straight back to the years everyone's tried to forget. Think about that. A single signed document from Maxwell could reignite one of the darkest scandals in American political history. Names, flights, bank transfers, all of it suddenly relevant again. So Democrats push harder, not for justice, for insurance. If the Biden administration kills this quietly, they'll burn for it in the next election. If they fight it loudly, they risk blowing open a bipartisan embarrassment. It's checkmate either way.
And yet, this is the part nobody's talking about. What happens if the paperwork actually reaches the president's desk? Because once that envelope lands in the West Wing, the story stops being about Maxwell and starts being about who Washington still protects when the cameras turn off. Here's where things get scary. Because if this clemency request actually crosses the president's desk, it's not just a legal test, it's a moral X-ray of Washington itself. You've got two possibilities, both terrifying. Either someone inside the system is trying to rescue a convicted trafficker, or they're using her as bait. Think about that. Maxwell isn't dumb. She knows names. She knows details. She's the human black box of the Epstein empire. And in D.C., black boxes don't stay buried forever. They get traded. Trump world knows that. Democrats know that. Hell, the intelligence community probably knows that better than anyone. And the silence from both parties screams one thing. Everyone's afraid of what she still remembers. Because this isn't just a scandal, it's a spiderweb. Epstein's circles touched everything. Hedge funds, royal families, tech billionaires, even education think tanks that got donations from shell foundations. That's the real reason this clemency request is nuclear. It risks dragging everyone's fingerprints back into the light. So of course Democrats are furious, but cautious. They want accountability, but not too much exposure. They'll roar at Trump's links, but whisper about their own. Remember, Epstein's network didn't care about party lines. It cared about access. And here's the quiet truth no one on TV will admit. This clemency story is less about compassion and more about control. Because if Maxwell's allies can dangle a pardon, they can dangle silence. And silence in Washington is worth more than any campaign donation. Here's why this matters far beyond one woman's freedom. It sets a precedent. It tells the world even if you help traffic children for billionaires, you can still lawyer your way back into society if you know the right names. That's not a justice system. That's a cartel with flags. And if you want to understand how deep this goes, remember the timeline. Trump's attorney general during Epstein's death was Bill Barr. The same Bill Barr whose father once hired Epstein to teach at a private school decades earlier without a college degree. Coincidence? Maybe. But in Washington, coincidences always seem to favor the powerful. So yeah, Democrats are erupting. But the bigger question is, how far will they actually go before this fire burns them too? Let's game this out. 3 scenarios, all messy, all dangerous. Scenario 1. The DOJ bends. Bondi's office or sympathetic Trump-era officials quietly advance the paperwork. It's just a review, they'll say. And once that process begins, it's official, Maxwell becomes a political prisoner in the eyes of the MAGA base. Suddenly, she's not a predator, she's a symbol, a martyr of elite injustice. That narrative alone could reshape Trump's next campaign. If they can lock her up, they can lock you up. Think that's far-fetched? It worked before. Scenario 2. The White House kills it publicly. Biden's team slams the door. They make it loud, righteous, televised, no special treatment for monsters. It looks like a moral victory, right? Except that gives Trump's media army new ammo. See? Political revenge again. Even mercy is partisan now. And just like that, Maxwell's name becomes a wedge issue, used to fundraise, mobilize, divide. Trump doesn't need her freed, he just needs her controversy to breathe oxygen into his movement.
Scenario 3. The shadow option. The White House never comments. The DOJ reviews quietly. The story fades from front pages while lawyers cut backroom deals, reducing her conditions, easing transfers, playing semantics. No clemency on paper, but mercy in practice. It's the classic DC way out. Act clean in public, cut corners in private. But here's the dangerous part. All 3 outcomes end the same way, with another nail in the coffin of public trust. Every time the justice system plays favorites, more Americans stop believing it exists for them. That's why this story matters. Because when accountability becomes optional for the rich, it becomes impossible for everyone else. So ask yourself, if this is what happens when the spotlight is on, what do you think happens when no one's watching? So let's strip it to the core. A convicted trafficker, a clemency plan, a trail that leads straight back to the most powerful people in America, and the White House caught between exposure and complicity. You couldn't script a better symbol of modern Washington. Here's the truth. This isn't about Maxwell anymore. It's about what she represents, a system that punishes the powerless and protects the connected. Every time she resurfaces, she's like a mirror. And what America sees staring back isn't justice, it's rot. But maybe that's why people keep watching, because deep down everyone knows these scandals aren't isolated. They're the same story repeating, one powerful name at a time. So what do you think? Is this accountability or just theater? Drop your take in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, because trust me, this isn't over. This is just the next act in America's favorite show, The Untouchables.